The Assassin. You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest. You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest.
What up, y'all? You're listening to Sports Talk with Tropp, and I'm your host, Katie Tropp. Hook 'em horns, motherfucker. Hook 'em horns, hook 'em horns, hook 'em horns, motherfucker. Hook 'em horns. Motherfucking Texas Longhorns are in the college football playoff, baby. I did not think that was going to be happening this weekend. I knew there was an outside chance, but holy motherfucking shit, they are in, and I am super excited about it, and we will get to it when we get to it. But I am fucking ecstatic that we finally not only had a great season, but we got in the dance and we could possibly win us a national championship. But let's start off with week 13 of the NFL. We had some interesting games, to say the least. Some were total snooze fests, and others were back and forth insanity. So let's get started with a snooze fest. The Arizona Cardinals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. First of all, this game had two delays due to lightning. They had this insane thunderstorm that was just a crazy downpour, but that wasn't the problem because, of course, they would have played through that. It was the lightning, and so usually when there's lightning, they always stop the game. So there were two delays in this game, and so this game actually didn't end up ending until way late in the afternoon. Both the first delay was, I believe, out of halftime, so it was like 30-minute delay, and then the second delay was an hour delay. So who knows if that played a factor into what happened in this game, but the Pittsburgh Steelers did not show up. Offensively, this was one of the worst games they've ever had, and that says a lot because I've mentioned it pretty much weekly now at this point. The Steelers have a terrible-ass offense, and it was on full display yesterday. The Cardinals, good for them, man. They came out and just had a very solid game. They got the win, 24-10. Kyler Murray had 145 yards and a touchdown. James Conner, he, of course, was drafted by the Steelers many years ago. They ended up just letting him go. He signed with the Cardinals, and so this was his homecoming, and he had 105 yards and 2 touchdowns, so he showed out. And the receiver of choice for Kyler Murray yesterday was McBride, his tight end. He had 89 yards and a touchdown. So it was an overall good game from the Cardinals. But the Steelers, I mean, just offensively, they looked terrible. Defensively, they had their moments. But, I mean, when your offense is just that inept, it's really difficult for the defense to continuously save their asses each and every game. Then we had the Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans, and this was a back-and-forth game. It went all the way into overtime. That's how back-and-forth this game went. And it ended in overtime with the Indianapolis Colts getting the win 31-28. Gardner Minshew, this guy had a game. He went off for 312 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was a huge reason why they won this in overtime as well because, you know, the Titans ended up winning the coin toss. They took it down the field, and they got a field goal. The Colts were like, we ain't doing this field goal shit, and they were dropping bombs until they eventually scored the game-winning touchdown on the last drive in overtime. But Minshew was a big part of this. I mean, there were a couple of drives where the Colts were down and out, and he was just able to get them right back in it. Then on the Titans side of things, Derrick Henry had an amazing game. He rushed for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then the game-winning touchdown went to Michael Pittman Jr., who had a huge game, 105 yards and a touchdown, and that touchdown was the game winner in overtime. So this was a huge game for both teams, mostly the Colts, though, because the Colts, believe it or not, are actually in the playoff hunt. And if they play like this, they're definitely making the playoffs. Now we have a snooze fest on our hands here. The Los Angeles Chargers at the New England Patriots. And when I say snooze fest, this is the definition of snooze fest. Now, I didn't see this game. Thankfully, I had something better on my for my choices on TV yesterday, but holy shit. I praise anybody who sat and watched through this garbage, and not only sat and watched through it, but if you were a fan who actually attended this game, good on you, because the Chargers won. I don't know if you want to call it a win, but they won in New England 6-0. That's like a fucking baseball score right there. That's a fucking Los Angeles Dodgers versus Boston Red Sox game right there. 6-0. The fucking Chargers couldn't even muster up any fucking offense. And I mean, we're not shocked that the Patriots couldn't, because that's the Patriots' MO all season long. I mean, you keep thinking to yourself, how much worse could this New England Patriots offense look? And each and every week, it gets fucking worse. I mean, it's not even just that, too. Usually when you're watching a Bill Belichick team, they're always buttoned up. They always know the right moves. They always know the right plays. They always know the rules. They always know what they can get away with. They always know what they can't get away with. And they just know the weirdest fucking rules, too. Like, they're just always so buttoned up. That's what a Bill Belichick team has always been known for. Not anymore. This team is absolute trash. And 6-0. I can't believe that's the most the fucking Chargers can muster up. I mean, they're supposed to be a good-ass offense, and you put 6 fucking points out there. It's not even, they did so terrible on the field yesterday. I'm not even going to bother mentioning any stats, because that's how disrespectful I feel towards yesterday's game between these two teams. 6-0. And the Chargers scored those 6 points in the second quarter. So imagine what the rest of that fucking game was like. Jesus Christ. All right, on to another game. The Detroit Lions at the New Orleans Saints. This was pretty much Lions domination from the jump. As a matter of fact, they scored 21 points right out the gate. So it pretty much was written in stone from the jump. Derek Carr, he had his moments. I mean, the first quarter was terrible. But then the second quarter, he really started to get it going. Third quarter, he started to get it going. And then unfortunately, once Derek Carr was hot and on fire and just completing every pass. I think at one point he was 14 for 14 with his passes, so he was doing spectacular. Well, then he gets knocked out of the game and bring in Jameis Winston. And you know how that usually goes. Now, I thought it was kind of funny because I was watching this game, and the Saints fans were booing Derek Carr, but applauding Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. Now, Taysom Hill, I get it, because the dude, I don't think he's that good of a quarterback, but he's made a lot of plays for them. He's just been a good player for them, so I get why they cheer him. But Jameis Winston is fucking terrible. Jameis Winston has always been terrible. I don't even know how Jameis Winston gets this reputation of even being a halfway decent quarterback, but he's not. He's fucking terrible. So I don't know how any fan of the Saints can look at Derek Carr and look at Jameis Winston and go, oh yeah, I'd rather have Jameis in the game. Fuck that. That's fucking stupid. Derek Carr went for 226 yards and a touchdown and an interception yesterday. But the big man on campus for the Detroit Lions is Sam Laporta, their rookie tight end. This guy has been having a fantastic season overall. But yesterday, he went off for 140 yards and a touchdown. So big game from him, big game from the Lions, and the Lions got the win 33-28. Then we had a snooze fest between the Atlanta Falcons and the New York Jets. And, I mean, the Falcons won 13-8. So there you go. The Jets are terrible. The Falcons are terrible. And there was really nothing to say about this game because both teams are terrible. And yes, the Falcons are in line to win their division, but do any of us really think they're actually going to be a good team and be competitive there? No, I don't think so. So this is just going to be, or that was just a terrible game. And also there's rumblings today that a story broke about little Zachary Wilson, the quarterback of the Jets. You know, he was on the bench to start the season. Then Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and then he pretty much came in and stunk up the place. They finally decided to bench him. But now they're thinking about putting him back in. And there's rumblings. Who knows if this is confirmed or not. But I wouldn't be surprised if this were the case. But apparently, little Zachary was asked if he wanted to start this next upcoming game. And he apparently said no. So that's how that went. And apparently my dog has an opinion on that since she decided to bark about that. Yes, I know the Falcons and Jets, terrible game. I should move on to an actual decent game. Well, actually, it's not a decent game that we have next up in line. It is the Miami Dolphins versus the Washington Commanders. And wow, the Dolphins did what the Dolphins do, and that is score a lot of motherfucking points. They scored 45 points and just blew the doors off the Commanders yesterday. 45-15 was the final score. Tyreek Hill went off, which he basically has gone off in every single game. But he had 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. Those 2 touchdowns were bombs, by the way. I believe both of them were over 50 yards. Tua had a solid game as well, 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. They also got their running back, A-Chain, back as well. He had 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, the Commanders' defense was just atrocious. And you got to wonder, because Ron Rivera, I don't think he's going to be here past next season. I thought Ron Rivera was done last year with Washington. This year, the dude looks like he has no idea what is going on. In every game, he's had this look of, why am I here? Every single game that I've seen him in. And this, to me, is how does he still have a job? Honestly, I'm kind of shocked that he has not been fired yet as of today. Now, I expect him to be fired at the end of the season, but after yesterday's showing and what they put on the field, and Rivera is a defensive coordinator. So if your side of the ball, if you're a head coach and your side of the ball is not doing well, to me, that's a problem. And the defense is terrible. Now, I know they traded away a whole bunch of dudes at the trade deadline, but even before that, they were bad. So I don't know what's going on in Washington, but I'm expecting Ron Rivera to be fired any day now. Then we have the Denver Broncos at the Houston Texans, and this actually turned out to be a good game. The Texans pretty much dominated it for the most part, but it was a close one. The Broncos actually had a shot on the last drive of the game, but they just turned it over. The Texans got the win 22-17. Unfortunately, they lost their rookie wide receiver Tank Dell for the rest of the season, which is a huge blow to this team because he has been C.J. Stroud's go-to guy. And speaking of Stroud, he had yet another great game. 274 yards and a touchdown. Well, I wouldn't call it a great game compared to some other games he's had this season, but a solid-ass game. And the guy is just looking fantastic as the season rolls on. But he did have a new receiver of choice yesterday after Dell went out. That was Nick Collins, who had 191 yards and a touchdown. So the Texans rolled. The Broncos just had a whole bunch of issues with turnovers in the red zone, and they just really didn't look good at all. Now, I will say, in my personal opinion, DeMeco Ryans, the coach of the Houston Texans, he is the coach of the year. This guy has turned around one of the worst franchises, not even just last year, but overall, the Houston Texans are a terrible franchise. They have barely won a goddamn thing ever. And they're 7-5 right now. They got a shot at the playoffs. And even if they don't make the playoffs, he has turned this team around. They got Stroud, who looks like he's the future of this franchise. The defense is scrappy as fuck. They got this dude Stingley Jr., who had a couple of interceptions yesterday. This defense is crazy. So the future of the Texans is bright, and DeMeco Ryans is my coach of the year, at least at this point in time. Then we had the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This game actually turned out to be a pretty fun one. Back and forth, the Panthers really wanted it. You could tell they really wanted it, but not enough. The Bucs got the win 21-18. Baker Mayfield had a solid day, 202 yards and a touchdown and an interception. Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers had a solid day, 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the big gamer was Mike Evans yesterday. He had 162 yards and a touchdown. He also went for over 1,000 yards. That is his 11th season of going over 1,000 yards in his career. That is only second to Jerry Rice. So if he plays next year and goes over 1,000 yards, which I expect Evans to play next year. But I mean, his contract is up with the Bucs this year, so chances are he's signing somewhere else. But I imagine he's going to be here next year. But if he is, and he goes over 1,000 yards, he's going to tie Jerry Rice. Like, how nuts is that? Who would have thought somebody who's going to have that record? None of us would have guessed Mike Evans is going to be that dude. But Mike Evans is that dude, one of the most consistent wide receivers we have ever had in this league. And nobody really talks about him because he's in Tampa. But the guy has been money. He's had multiple quarterbacks throughout his entire career. And he's been able to do that and maintain that every single year. They've had down years. They've had up years. They made the playoffs. They've won the Super Bowl. And he's been there the whole freaking time and doing a fantastic job. So congrats, Mike Evans. Never would have thought you would be second to Jerry Rice in that category, but you are, and congratulations. Then we had the Cleveland Browns at the Los Angeles Rams, and the Rams just dominated the Browns. The Browns actually made it a game to start, but then the Rams just really started running away with it in the second half. They got the win 36-19. This offense, this Rams offense looks really, really good when they're clicking on all cylinders. You've got Kyren Williams, who had 88 yards and a touchdown on the ground yesterday. So when this guy gets going, that opens up the receiving core. Cooper Kupp had a touchdown yesterday. Puka Nacua had 105 yards and a touchdown yesterday. Stafford went for 279 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it was a great game offensively for the Rams. And they are in line for the playoffs. And I feel like they are a team that could actually legitimately make it because Matthew Stafford is a solid quarterback. And when they have this offense and all these weapons, they look really damn good. And they could actually shake some things up. Obviously, we got to see how they do throughout the rest of the season because they've been a very Jekyll and Hyde team. But it feels like when they have Kyren Williams healthy, and they have Nacua healthy, and they have Kupp healthy, and then they have Stafford playing at a high level, this offense looks pretty unstoppable. And the Browns, Joe Flacco, he played. He was the starting quarterback yesterday, and even though the Browns didn't get the win, he actually played pretty well. You know, Flacco hasn't played in a few years. He's been a backup. I want to say, the last 3-4 seasons, Flacco's been pretty much relegated to the backup position. And then he wasn't signed with anybody. And then the Browns quarterback situation just got so dire that they ended up hitting up Flacco. He started this week, and, it doesn't look like he's missed a step with his arm. His arm he could still launch the ball. Not saying he's an MVP type player, but he definitely played very well. And the Browns are in line for the playoffs, so how funny would that be to see Joe Flacco as the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs? But we've got a minute till we get to the playoffs. Then we had the game of the day, but it did not really turn out to be the game of the day. That was the San Francisco 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles did not show up. They got their asses handed to them yesterday. The Niners won 42-19. The first quarter, it looked like the Eagles were going to start running away with it because their first couple of drives, they got going. They got into the red zone, but they were only able to score 2 field goals. So they were up 6-0. And it's looking like they're going to start rolling. And they even, they got the Niners starting in really bad field position. And, they got a couple of sacks and it looked like they were frustrating the Niners offense at first. But then the second quarter hit and they scored 14 in the second quarter, 14 in the third, and 14 in the fourth. And they just rolled. It was not close after that first quarter. I mean, the Niners looked fantastic. Brock Purdy, 314 yards and 4 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey, 93 yards and a touchdown. Debo motherfucking Samuel had a game. 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. And man, he had a couple of runs where it was like, are you going to stop this motherfucker? And he's like a fucking bowling ball. He just rams right into you and just fucking keeps going. And you're like, dude, what the fuck? You got 4 dudes hanging off of you and you're still going. And he ain't even really that big. He's not like Derrick Henry big, but I mean, he's a fucking wide receiver for Christ's sake. But the Niners really, offensively especially, just took it to the Eagles. I will say the Eagles looked like they kind of got in their own way a bit. But I mean, overall, the Niners just mollywopped their asses. And I'm pretty happy about it because, I did say beforehand that no matter the result of this, that this doesn't really affect the Eagles season, and I still don't think it does. I do think they're probably going to end up still with the number 1 overall seed, and they're probably still going to win the division. But I'm pretty excited because, we got the Cowboys and Eagles coming up this week. If the Cowboys are to beat the Eagles, they will be tied for the division lead. So I'm happy about it, but I'm still holding my breath with the Cowboys because, after that Niners loss, I've been taking it week by week with my boys. I still believe in them, they keep surprising me, with what they did with the Seahawks especially, and hopefully they keep it moving like they are right now. But I can't get my hopes up and think that they are going to win the division, especially with just kind of how the Eagles have built this really tough lead, and so I can't count them out just yet. But they definitely did not look good yesterday against the Niners. The Niners just killed them in every single way, offensively, defensively, special teams, and coaching. They got out everything in every single way. Then the Sunday night football matchup was the Kansas City Chiefs at the Green Bay Packers, and whoa, the Green Bay Packers, they dominated this game. There wasn't one point where the Chiefs had the lead. This was all Packers all night. They got the win 27-19. And Jordan Love, got to give it up to this dude. I've been critical of him. And, these last couple of performances has just been a couple of performances. I'm going to need more from you to say, yeah, you're the dude. But these last couple of games, he's been the dude. Last night he had 267 yards and 3 touchdowns. And let me tell you, man, this guy was throwing some darts. There was this beautiful pass he threw in the end zone to Watson where it was just like right over the defender's hands and boop, right into Watson's hands. Then he had this another big-ass play. I can't remember if it was third down. It feels like it was a third and long type play where he just bombs it up to Romeo Doubs. And it landed so perfectly. Dobbs was in triple coverage, and this was a bomb. This was not this was not a beautiful route ran where they predicted this. No, this was just like Jordan Love's getting rushed at. I gotta fucking throw this shit, and he bombs it up, and it lands perfectly in Dobbs' hands. Only Dobbs had the chance to get it, and it was a beautiful catch and pass. And just give it to Jordan Love for having a beautiful game, and really give it up to the Packers because defensively they were really able to keep the Chiefs in check. There were a couple of points in the game where Chris Collinsworth kept saying these dumbass things because that's what he normally does, is say dumbass things. But he kept alluding to that, oh, you don't want to do this because Patrick Mahomes can do that, and you could just tell after the second, after the Chiefs cut it to 14-12, and they failed on the 2-point conversion. When that happened, I knew the Packers were winning. I knew that was the Packers' game because they just kept getting at Mahomes, and they were so amazing in coverage last night. They were just not letting people up. And yes, there were a bunch of questionable calls, but I don't give a shit about that. I usually don't even talk about that kind of shit because I think that's just wah crybaby shit. Get over it. Refs fuck up shit all the goddamn time, and who fucking cares? It all balances out in the end, but you all just want to cry about everything, so that's what you focus on. But I mean, just overall, the Packers defense held it down, and there was the last drive for the Packers. They were running the clock out, and then unfortunately, Jordan Love got sacked. And they're in field goal position, and if they hit the field goal, they go up 8 points. And Chris Collinsworth, before he gets sacked, is saying, oh, well, if I'm the Packers, you got to go for this on 4th down, right? Because, you got Patrick Mahomes on the other end. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm just laughing to myself because I'm like, dude, have you been watching the same fucking game I have? Because Patrick Mahomes ain't going to do shit tonight. I know Patrick Mahomes has the magic, but it don't always fucking work. This Green Bay Packers defense is going to shut it down. And the Green Bay Packers defense shut it down. So the Packers took that field goal. They went up 8 points, which they should have, because that's Patrick Mahomes on the other side. And there's a good chance he could tie it up. I'd rather have an 8-point lead and just have them be able to tie it up than just have I think that would have, was a 5-point lead if they had missed the field goal or gone for it on 3rd or on 4th down, like Chris Collinsworth had suggested. Then what? Then what? If Patrick Mahomes drives it down the field and scores a touchdown, well, guess what? They would win the game in that way. So I don't even know what the fuck that idiot was saying last night, but he kept saying dumbass shit like he always does. And I knew the Packers defense was going to hold it down on that last drive. They certainly did. And that was it was a great win by the Packers. And with the Chiefs, I keep saying they need somebody else besides Kelsey to step it up on this offensive side of the ball. When it comes to receivers. And, Rice, like I said, was that dude last week, but he didn't really do shit last night. So good showing, though, from the Packers. They definitely played a great game, and they deserved that win and got it 27-19. So let's move on to the Monday Night Football matchup tonight. We have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now, the Jaguars are at 8.5-point favorite. The Bengals, I feel like, are just screwed now that Joe Burrow is out. The Jaguars, they're one of the most complete teams in the league, in my opinion. So I kind of feel like this is just going to be a complete domination by the Jaguars tonight. I have them winning 30-17. Now, let's move on to the college football playoff. Like I said, I am excited because my Texas Longhorns have finally made it to the college football playoff. Now, the Longhorns have won a national championship. The last time they went to the national championship and unfortunately lost to Alabama was in 2009. That was the last time the Longhorns were even remotely watchable. Now, I've been watching them ever since because I'm a real fan and I don't give up. I don't not watch my team. I always got to root for them and watch them and support them no matter how shitty they are. So I've stated multiple times throughout this season how happy I've been with what the Longhorns have done. I really didn't expect, once we lost to Oklahoma, I did not expect us to even have a shot at this. So I'm watching us whoop ass in the Big 12 championship game on Saturday, and I'm like, I'm happy with this. Let's see what bowl game we get. And then I'm watching the SEC championship game later, Georgia versus Alabama. Now, I hate Alabama. I can't root for Alabama. But I watched this game, and I was like, if Alabama wins, Texas has a shot at making this college football playoff because, Washington had won the night before and they're undefeated. So in my opinion, Washington 100% had to be there. Michigan undefeated 100% had to be there. Those two teams have dominated. They've beat good teams and they've been at the top all season long. So it was really these last 3 and 4 spots that were left open. So Alabama gets the win. And in my head, I'm thinking, if Alabama goes, Texas got to go. Because Texas kicked the shit out of Alabama in Alabama, mind you, earlier this season. So we got to go. You put Alabama in, you got to put us in. And on Sunday, yesterday, I get the alert on my phone of who's going to the college football playoff. And I'm like, hook 'em, horns, motherfuckers. We made it. We are the number 3 seed. And I am fucking ecstatic. So, the matchups we have for the college football playoff. Number 1 ranked Michigan versus number 4 ranked Alabama. Number 2 ranked Washington versus number 3 ranked Texas Longhorns. So, who do I think is going to win these matchups? Well, Michigan versus Alabama should be an excellent game. Alabama has actually been playing great since they got their asses kicked by the Texas Longhorns. And, they played a good-ass game against Georgia. So I expect them to play a good-ass game against Michigan. But to me, Michigan has been the best team and the most consistent team all season long in college football. And I just can't see them losing just yet. So I have Michigan beating Alabama, but I expect this to be a battle. Then we have Washington versus my Texas Longhorns. And while I have a great amount of respect for Washington, Texas is a complete team. And I think their defense is better. And I think if our defense can just tamp down their offense a bit, the Texas Longhorns are getting this win. And I'm picking my Texas Longhorns regardless of what it looks like on paper. Because hook 'em horns, motherfucker. I ain't picking against my team in this position right now. Hell to the no. I'm picking Texas to win against Washington. So my national championship matchup is Michigan versus Texas. And I'm all for it. I can't wait for that shit. Now, I did say Michigan, I believe, is the best team in college football. But I'm not picking against my Texas Longhorns. You know I'm not picking against my Texas Longhorns. You know I'm picking my Texas Longhorns all day, every motherfucking day in every matchup. So yeah, I have the Texas Longhorns winning the national championship, bitches. And I just can't believe we're here. I just can't believe it. We finally made the college football playoff. We've never made the college football playoff, but since it started. And so it's so nice to see them here. And so, yeah, I got them beating Michigan. Now, I think it will be a great matchup, but come on, man. It's Texas. We're a complete ass team. Now, I will say, one thing I don't like is that we're going to be missing who I feel is our top player on offense is Brooks, our running back Brooks. He tore his ACL a couple weeks ago, so I don't believe there's any way he's going to be playing in the matchup versus Washington, or if we go to the championship game. I don't think that's even feasible, but that's my only concern. But, I mean, the backups have been playing well, so I really actually like Texas in this position. You know, Ewers has been playing well since he came back. I mean, he's been having a great season overall, but since he came back from injury, he's actually been extremely accurate. So I just really like what I'm seeing from the Longhorns. We've got a bunch of explosive receivers. We've got a great tight end core. We've got a great offensive line. Like I said, this ground attack, once it gets going, and the defense is solid. And if the defense has had its moments where it gets blown in coverage, so that could be a problem. But the thing with Michigan is they're more of a ground attack team than they are through the air. So I think Texas can win it all. And you know I got Texas winning it all. Now, with that being said, of course, as always, there's always a team left crying their little fucking eyes out. And today, that is FSU. And I just got to say, sorry about you, FSU, but going undefeated isn't the only fucking criteria to getting into this college football playoff. And it shouldn't be. I mean, like I said, okay, so with Michigan, they had to go. There was no way Michigan was not getting in. I feel like even if Michigan lost, they probably still would have got in. Michigan, overall, best fucking team in the country. They had to get in. They were going. Then Washington, when they won and beat Oregon on Friday night in their Pac-12 conference championship, when they did that, we all knew Washington was in because not only are they undefeated, but they actually beat good teams along the way. And they're a watchable team. So then, like I said, you get down to the 3 and 4 spots. And when Alabama beat Georgia, that basically kicked Georgia out. And I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just as annoyed with it too. But the SEC is the best conference. So whoever wins the SEC championship game should go to the college football playoff. So when that happened, Alabama, of course, has to go. There is no arguments against putting Alabama in here. And with that being said, there are no arguments against putting Texas in there either because Texas beat Alabama in Alabama. We have only one loss. And we kicked the shit out of Oklahoma State in our conference championship game. So our criteria is better than yours, FSU. If FSU would have actually fucking showed up for their conference championship game, what did they win, 16-6? What the fuck is that? You think you're actually you think you're fucking watchable? I mean, really, last year was probably, I believe, the first year ever in the college football playoffs history where we had both matchups be good, where they came down to, like, I believe the last second. They were just crazy games. But overall, usually the college football playoff, at least one of the games is an extreme, unwatchable blowout. And that's what FSU would be if they had made the college football playoff because, A, they lost their fucking quarterback a couple weeks ago with this fucking ankle hanging the opposite direction that it should be hanging. Sorry, dude. That's what happens. And y'all didn't beat anybody good this year. And like I said, you didn't show out in your championship game. Y'all fucking barely won that shit. It was practically like Louisville just handed that shit to you. So what the fuck are y'all crying about? I get it. You're undefeated. But that's not the only criteria to getting in this shit. And everybody knows it too. Like I said, FSU getting in here wouldn't have even been watchable. Guarantee you. They would have just laid a fucking egg and would have gone home and everybody would have been like, oh, FSU shouldn't have got there. That's why you're not there. So shut the fuck up. Get over yourselves. You should have played better in your championship game. I bet you If FSU would have won their championship game like 45-0, they would be one of these spots in the college football playoff. So it's on y'all. You should have played a little bit better, and you should have blown out some more teams, because that's why Texas made it. Once Texas blew out Oklahoma State on Saturday, everybody, all the experts, all the talking heads, even myself, I was like, whoa, we got a shot. And that actually bolsters your opinion. That gives you a reason to vote for Texas over FSU. And so, sorry about you, FSU. You could cry in your fucking little tears all you fucking want, but it ain't going to happen. You didn't make it. Too bad. So sad. There's always a team left out crying, and there always will be. Even when we move to the expanded college football playoff, you know what's going to happen? Teams are still going to be left out. They're still going to be crying, and we're going to have a bunch of blowouts up until we get to the championship round. So, shut up, FSU. You didn't play hard enough to make it to the college football playoff like the rest of these teams. So hook 'em horns, motherfuckers. Moving on to the top 10 NBA power rankings this week. Not a major shakeup. Still about the same, kind of at the top here. And but I think I've discussed all of these teams so far, at least at this point in the season. So let's start it off with the same number one that we've had, the Boston Celtics. Overall record of 15-4, 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're on a 3-game winning streak currently. You know, they kicked the crap out of Philadelphia. They beat Chicago and Atlanta last week. So they had a great week. Jason Tatum just is continuing to be one of the best players in the league. And then, of course, they are one of the teams still in the in-season tournament. So I kind of feel like if you're in the in-season tournament, that definitely elevates you to a little bit. You should at least be one of the... I should be, for the most part, talking about you. There's a couple of teams that aren't in the top 10 this week, but definitely it looks like, I believe, 4 of these teams that made the in-season tournament, they are in the top 10, just because I feel like that does give you a little bit of extra juice over some of these other teams. And then the Celtics are also going to be getting Porzingis back at some point this week as well. So they should, even though he's been out, they still have been looking solid. So Celtics still number one. Then at number 2 on my top 10 NBA power rankings are the Milwaukee Bucks. Overall record of 14-6. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. Their past couple of wins have been some big ones too, against the Atlanta Hawks, the Miami Heat, and the Portland Trail Blazers. And Giannis. The dude is just having a fantastic season along with Lillard. And then once again, just like the Celtics, they are also in the in-season tournament. So that puts them above other teams as well, even though with them, it doesn't really matter because they're just playing at such a great level right now. Then at number 3 on my top 10 NBA power rankings, a team that is just killing it, and that is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Overall record of 15-4. They are 8-2 in their last 10 games, and they are currently on a 4-game winning streak, and they are beating the shit out of everybody. Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns. It just doesn't matter. This team is just killing it. And it's crazy, too, because I expected this from them, but since they played so bad last year, I feel like I'm just surprised at how well they're playing when I shouldn't be, because Ant, Gobert, and Cat are excellent players. I mean, all 3 of them are starters individually on other teams. I mean, they're all 3 fantastic players. So together, to see that they're playing so well right now, we'll see if they're able to keep it up. But I really like what I'm seeing from the Timberwolves, and they're at number 3 this week on my top 10 NBA power rankings. Then at number 4, I have the Sacramento Kings. Overall record of 11-7. They are 7-3 in their last 10 games. They are also a team that has made the in-season tournament, and they have been on fire ever since De'Aaron Fox came back from injury. He is averaging 30 points per game, and he has just been straight up dominating every single team so far. I mean, he's just been on fire. So Kings looking really solid so far. Then at number 5 on my Trop 10 NBA power rankings are the Phoenix Suns, overall record of 12-8. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and they are also in the in-season tournament. Kevin Durant is averaging 31 points per game right now, along with Devin Booker averaging 28 points per game. So try and stop those two motherfuckers on the court at the same time. Defensively, still a lot of questions, but who the fuck cares when you are just scoring everybody out of the building. Then at number 6 on my Trop 10 NBA power rankings, a team that's fallen just a bit is the Philadelphia 76ers. Overall record of 12-7. They've fallen really just because they are 4-6 in their last 10 games. But overall, this team is pretty goddamn dominating. I mean, Joel Embiid playing at an MVP level. Right now, he leads the league in points per game at 32 points per game right now. He's averaging about 11 rebounds per game and 2 blocks per game. So he's just getting it done in every way, shape, and form, offensively, defensively, in the paint. The guy is having an MVP type of season. And then you've got Tyrese Maxey, who he's been that dude who's just been on the precipice of breaking out these last couple of seasons. But this year, he has really busted through the door and has really been a huge reason as to why the 76ers team has been playing so well so far this season. Then at number 7 on my Trop 10 NBA power rankings, a team I'm still talking about. I can't believe we're still talking about them, and they're playing so well and beating good teams along the way, and that is the Orlando Magic. They are 14-6 on the season, 9-1 in their last 10 games. Now, I know you're thinking they should be a little bit higher, but I'm sorry. They got to prove it to me more. They are a young team. We've got Paolo Banchero, who's having a great season. You got Franz Wagner, who's playing well, Suggs, and then Cole Anthony as well. Young core, and they're just, and like I said, they're beating some good teams along the way. I mean, they beat the Boston Celtics, like a week or two ago? So they're playing great. It's just, can they maintain this throughout the entire season, or are they that random team that just starts the season off really well and then starts to fall off as the season wears on? Who knows? It's yet to be seen what they really are. But so far, I really like what I'm seeing from the Orlando Magic. And it's extremely surprising because I thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league because they're so young and have so many, it feels like unknown players, but they're all playing at a great level right now. Then at number 8 on my Trop 10 NBA power rankings of the Oklahoma City Thunder, overall record of 13-6. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. And they are just killing it from the three-point line. Right now, they are first in the league with their three-point percentage averaging 40% on their three-pointers right now. So they're hitting pretty much every time they're going down the court for three-pointers. They're just hitting them. And Chet Holmgren is making a great case for Rookie of the Year right now. Now, I know it's real early to be discussing Rookie of the Year, but I kind of feel like with all the hype around Victor Wembanyama, we all thought he was 100% shoo-in for that shit, when unfortunately for him, Chet Holmgren is not only technically playing his rookie season because he got injured last year, which was his rookie season, but he didn't play a lick last year, so this is technically his rookie season. The guy is playing fantastic. He's one of the main reasons why this team is playing so well, and so I think he's making a much better case because Wembanyama's on a shitty-ass team that ain't doing shit, whereas Holmgren's not only playing at a high level, and his numbers are equal to or greater than what Wembanyama's doing so far, plus his team is playing well, and they're very competitive right now, so I'd put Holmgren over Wembanyama at this point in time for Rookie of the Year, but like I said, it's very early to be discussing such an award, but Chet Holmgren is making a case and making it difficult for Wembanyama to just automatically win that shit. Then at number 9 on my Trop 10 NBA power rankings of the Denver Nuggets, overall record of 14-7. They are 5-5 in their last 10 games, so that's why they're ranked so low right now. But they have had to be dealing with the injuries as of late. Jamal Murray is back, so that should help bolster their hopes along the way here. But Nikola Jokic is just continuing to be unstoppable. The dude has been we all know him as a triple-double machine, but you can't forget about scoring the double-doubles. And he already has, I believe, it's like 18 on the season. So Nikola Jokic, is anybody aware when they play him that he's on the court? Because you got to stop that dude because he's pretty much unstoppable at this point. But he's fantastic. But the Denver Nuggets, they haven't been playing that well since Jamal Murray was injured. And then rounding out my top 10 NBA power rankings this week, I have my Los Angeles Lakers. Overall record of 12-9. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. They are in the in-season tournament, which is why I have them ranked in the top 10. I was going back and forth with the last couple of teams at the bottom there, and I snuck the Lakers in just because of their tournament status. But really, they're such a Jekyll and Hyde team. I mean, they get their asses beat one night, then they win the next night, then they get their asses beat. And it's not just like they lose. They get their asses beat by like over 20 and 30 points. And that's just not what you want to see from this team. And I mean, a lot of it, of course, is when Anthony Davis has a down game, then we have a down game. If he has an up game, then we have an up game. So it's too much of that. They haven't found quite their identity just yet. They're still obviously capable of it. I mean, LeBron's playing at such a high level and playing so well right now. So they look like a solid team. And like I said, the in-season tournament definitely puts a little juice above other teams for them. And I do think they can win the tournament. Of course, I picked them to win the in-season tournament because that's how I do, man. You see me picking the Longhorns to win it all. Got my Lakers winning it all because that's how I do. I always got to pick my teams when I got the chance to. So I do think the Lakers are a good enough team to win the in-season tournament, but they got to stop with this Jekyll and Hyde shit and actually find an identity and keep that identity every single night, not this fall off and then we're on the next night. But we'll see how that goes throughout the rest of the season. So enjoy the rest of the week of sports, people, and I will talk to you all on Wednesday. And remember, hook 'em horns, motherfuckers.